What do you think, Big Bot? Welcome back, Transformers and Beast Wars fans, to my review session talking about some Transformers products. Today, we've got MP-34 Cheetus from the Takara Tomy Beast Wars Masterpiece line. Compared to the previous figure, MP-32 Convoy, this figure is not as good, but it is still a fantastic feat of engineering, and there is so much tricky bits that it makes sense why this has a few of the weaknesses that it does to really get the feel of the character in bot mode. The cheetah mode is just a little bit lacking. All right. So Cheetor was probably my least favorite character in the Maximal side from Season 1 Beast Wars, but I still am very happy to have this bot in my collection as it rounds out my Beast Wars set, as well as it's just a really, really cool toy. So they did pretty well with, again, looking like the character. They got really good expressions. Similar to the Optimus, they gave a couple of extra faces, so we've got a surprised face and a kind of like shifty-eyed face. So those are nice little attachments there. You can pop off the head and swap these in. Both of the mouths, or all of the mouths, open to varying degrees depending on the expression. So this one has a little bit less teeth, so it can close all the way up. The other ones are showing some teeth. Dropped one on the floor, so they cannot close as much. Posability is where this one struggles a little bit. To get some of the poses, several of these parts have to move, which ends up showing a couple of gaps and whatnot, and you have to do some creative positioning to really make sure that it all comes along tightly and isn't showing any bot parts. It's also in a little bit of an awkward pose, kind of in the ready to pounce cheetah position, but that means that there is no way to get him in a straight back regular standing there cheetah position without having significant gaps, and that's my greatest problem with this particular bot. I would have rathered it be able to be in this position easier and actually have no gaps there than to be have the pounce position be where the preferred kind of layout is. The legs have quite a bit of motion. They can go out to the side. All of the different joints are pretty posable. The back legs are the robot legs, so they have quite a bit more than the front legs in posability options. But the problem is that there is no toe pivot at all. So without any toe pivots on the front, we do have a toe pivot. So this thing rotates, and you can get a couple of good stances with the front legs. But the back legs do not have that, and so without that, widening the stance in any way kind of just looks awkward. So if you try and widen the stance, the legs just don't sit quite right. So that's kind of a problem there with how the back legs work, and that's just because these are kind of like nubbin add-ons for the human form, and that's understandable because the human form is really the goal, and the bot form is just a nice touch to be quite a bit better. Again, compared to the original, we can see just how much of an improvement this one is. The original was very lacking and barely even looked like a cheetah at all. This one does definitely give you the Cheetor feel and is a really nice bot. So let's take a look at this. Okay, so looking at this figure transformed, and it looks really good. I love the light piping. They did an excellent job with those eyes. They can really nicely glow. He just looks right, like he looks out of the show, which is fantastic. Now, on to a couple of the problems. The hands are awful. It is just all of the fingers on one single joint. The fingers are kind of awkward, as well as the positioning of it is really weird, and I do not like it. Looking at the hands and then the weapons, it is pretty hard to get the weapon in easily. It does not nicely slot in very well, and then it is very limited in the range of usability. So I'm trying to get the hand slotted in on the little tabs on the weapon, and the weapon doesn't really seem to get to the point in the hand where it can tab in very easily, and then once it's locked in, it just doesn't quite sit right. So there's just a couple issues with these hands that really hold the figure back from being a fantastic figure. Once posed, again, there's some awkwardness in the motion and whatnot, so the hands are the biggest letdown for me. I would love it if there was a little bit better articulation in the hands, as well as if these segments just didn't cover as much of the hands. If they came back a little bit further, it would be nice to be able to get a little bit more movement out of these. So that's the biggest issue, in my opinion, with this figure. And then there is this section here with the original cheetah head versus the transformed cheetah head. The original cheetah head kind of pushes down inside, and there's a section in the back that the chin kind of sticks out of. It doesn't slot in as well as the instructions seem to suggest it does. At least mine doesn't. If anybody knows a way to get this to go significantly further in so that the ears are actually lined up where they're supposed to go, that'd be great, but I've never been able to get it in. So this whole head section just doesn't quite look right. This should be flat straight across, but I've never been able to figure out a way to get that to happen. You may be having that same issue with this figure, so that is just how it seems to go. Articulation is fantastic. They've got excellent joints. They've got double joints on most of the arms and whatnot, so you got lots of movement. So arm articulation is fantastic. Leg articulation is really good. Goes all the way out, comes back. It's got the double joint system there to be able to move quite a bit. The toes do pivot, so you can get some wide stances. You need to make sure, it's a little bit tricky in the transformation process to make sure you flipped around the pelvis in the right way, but we'll go over that in the next video as one of the things to watch out for in transformation. So this guy is great. It is an awesome Cheetor figure, and of course this mode also comes with a couple of faces. It's a little bit more limited, so it's got kind of a mischievous, maybe parsed lip face. This guy's got the kind of surprised face on right now, and then there is a teeth showing face, so he's kind of angrier, but there's a little bit limited facial expression just because of how tight the face is there. It's hard to get a little bit more out of it, but they did give us a couple extras. And of course there is the other sniper style gun. So this was the tail, and it can flip into a sniper gun. All right, there we go. We'll go over in the next video how you do that, but this is into the sniper mode, and then he can slot that into his hand and hold on to that and have the gun, or he can do a pretty sweet, they got some nice articulation here on the head to be able to go down into a crouch sniper position. The box shows that right here, which is kind of the scenes from the show. So all the boxes show a couple scenes from the show that you're able to replicate with these toys, and they're pretty awesome. So 2 guns, 2 faces, 2 heads for the cheetah, and just a awesome looking figure. This guy is really great, so let me know what you think of Cheetor Masterpiece 34 from the Takara Tomy line. I'm pretty happy with it. Again, it's got a couple of issues. It's one of the weakest in this line, but it's still a really good figure because it is Masterpiece. So, weakest Masterpiece figure as it's falling over here. I'm trying to pose it. Weakest Masterpiece figure is still a pretty strong figure compared to a lot of collectibles. So there we have Cheetus.